So today we have changed. So today we talk on orbit theory with lunar perturbations in terms of Kustanimo stable regular elements. So this case regular elements. This I left for later. So this work was carried out under a DST project. I got a project from Department of Science and Technology, and then with me, Harish Kumar Selamuthu, he joined in this project, and then we started working on this project. The idea, the target was to develop a software, a theory, related theory and software to find the orbital decay of high eccentric orbits. Because for high eccentric orbits, as I have been telling you, you need to consider the effect of the sun and the moon also. And at times radiation pressure also becomes important, but these are essential. Radiation pressure will depend upon the size of the satellite. If the area to mass ratio is large, then radiation pressure also plays very significant role. But otherwise, it will also have some effect. But these lunisolar perturbations, sun and moon perturbations, we have to include. So today I discussed the moon, and the next lecture I will discuss the sun and the moon and the related things which we have carried out. Though we had generated the sun first, but what happened is this got published early, and sun got into the part theory which was not, though we cited here, but then it was not there. It did not get accepted in the journal. So later on we did it later. But then this was in a prestigious journal. This is a very prestigious journal, Journal of Guidance, Control and Dynamics from IEEE. So we had all the nomenclature are listed over here, which are required into the. So that is the format of the journal. So we have followed that. So as I told you, you need to take the effect of sun and the moon both. Whenever you have a satellite, any space object, whether it is satellite or any other objects, you need to take the effect of the gravity of the sun and the moon. Both are important. Sun plays more important role, but then moon also we cannot neglect. So in this I will discuss the moon, how we have developed, because the sun theory developing is in one way slightly easier than the moon, because moon is distance is nearer to earth than sun. So when we do the series expansions, we have to take one order higher terms in considering the motion of moon, the gravity of the moon. When we take one more higher order terms, we have to take. So this, this our helps us the bilinear relation which comes in the KS element equation, which we have discussed earlier quite at length, that this helps us to this is becoming very useful, because we know whether our analytical or numerical calculations are going correctly or they are not going correctly. And so the other things I need not tell, because we have already discussed significantly. So to start this work, we had to do a lot of literature survey, and then because the first time we were doing ourselves, this work and into it's slightly a different area where we were entering. So we did a thorough literature survey, and we identified some of the important uh, contributions and then studied them. And then from there we chose our method, how we are going to deal with it. So as you have seen these equations, these are again, if your velocity, this perturbing potential is not time dependent, then we can take this. If it is time dependent, we cannot take this. So these equations are only valid when this is time given. Otherwise, this also you need to. This is the variation in the time, change in time with respect to eccentric anomaly. As I told you, these equations, these element equations are derived in terms of, are written in terms of eccentric anomaly, because that came to be more handy, and you can easily, physically, we can see them after converting to the physical space in your orbital elements or x, y, z, your Cartesian coordinates. You can convert them easily. So these are the equations which, and the beauty of these equations, as I told you, that these equations, so they look, only the minus sign is there. This term is same, and that only when I started work somewhere in 80s, that only motivated me. That this looks beautiful. That these are so symmetrical. Only sine and cosine is there. And when I started this my theory with J2, then I found that all these 8 can be these are 8 equations, because alpha is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4. Similarly, this. So I said all these can be handled with one equation. So one this and one this. Okay, we know computer can do balance. Only you need to change initial conditions. So that's why these became very, very. So a lot of potential is still there in these equations. These are very, very, very. What we have been able to do, only very, very small work only on this, and we have showed that this whatever work you carry out, some benefit you get over the earlier works in some way or other way. So with that, faith only we started, the whole thing. I started this book reading itself by in that faith that something must be there, because this is a linear and regular celestial mechanics. So when you read the thing, that a non-linear equation becomes a linear equation of a harmonic oscillator, and you don't lose anything. It's not that you have linearized that equation. You have made only certain transformations, and you can again go back. So that only motivated me, friends, when I started somewhere after my PhD submission. Second time when I resubmitted my thesis in January 76. After that, I had time to concentrate on this work. But this book I was there in Space Center. By the time this book has arrived here, I intended this, and then I was reading it. I used to read it very systematically. Almost every day I will read, even if half an hour, sometime, and that's how I got into some of the things. And you can. That's why you see, when you identify, I have been telling that you must identify yourself with some books and treat them as your strong points and read them. Survey book also I read quite a lot. That gave me my PhD. And then this book, and then the King Ali's book, those things gave me a lot of further. So that's my advice to all of you, that you should always, because normally textbook, they will be written by people who will be very experienced, and the mistakes also will not be there in general, except for very minor somewhere, one or two. So these are all the things which anyway I had already told you. So these are, see, you can get back velocity and position. Once you know in this space, you can go back to the positions. This is position and this is the velocity. So you can get back. And whenever we talk, so we do the calculation in the case space, but we will not show the results there, because we come back here by these exact transformations and then show how how our results are showing. But we have already gained the accuracies when we work in the another space calculate. That's how the Hamiltonians also when we went to the canonical variables from here, case uniformly regular case canonical variables, and those again gave further this, and those equations are still are to be utilized. Maybe time will come within short where people will be able to. Even my this lecture series, I also may motivate some people from elsewhere, because they are available on YouTube now. So they may also get some some help from here, and they may be able to also contribute. So this is how our Vn we can write the third body perturbing potential. We can write in this form. This is similar to what we write for the earth potential when you take only zonal harmonic terms. So this is and then we can expand them. So cos phi, this angle cos phi is here. Here the position of the sun or moon, whichever you are taking. The perturbing potential of the sun was expanded up to second order. That we did earlier, but I will be showing you that in my next presentation due to large distance between sun and earth. Whereas due to the relative small distance between moon and earth, because this distance is much smaller, we are only 3,84,000, whereas there we are around 14. That is 9,30,000. We used to call that miles at that time. So that is quite a large distance. Should be expanded up to higher order terms. So one more extra order we take, up to third order we take. Expanded whenever we develop this theory. So anybody does. So these are all the things these lessons we learn only when we read the standard papers by big celebrities. So then taking up to third order expansion, the lunar perturbing potential is given as this. This is the lunar perturbation. We have taken that, and theta, this is your S, and this is your V2, and which are expanded for the sun when the lunar terms are replaced by the solar terms, and V3 is equal to this, which is the third order terms in equation 9. The accuracy of the geocentric lunar position vector during each computation depends on the accuracy of T. Therefore, to improve the accuracy of T, the perturbing potential is chosen up to fourth order expansion in V, and then the time element equation is computed. We have V4 we have. Now using this is another good thing in case element equations. This U dot del V by del U, that comes as 2n Vn. So this wherever in the equations it is coming, so we can replace by this n greater than equal to 2. So equation 2, that d tau by d, because time you have to also compute as you are moving, as your angle is, after each revolution you've gone 360 degrees like that. So your tau also you need to upgrade. So this is considered carried out from here, and this is d alpha by d, and this is d beta by, and qy and sin e by. This is in the same form we wrote what, because we had earlier experience, so we had no problem. Only problem was the expansion of those things, how we are going to handle them. So where qi is this, qi has become this. Now with the values of a, b, c in terms of ui given in there, and the values of mu m and mu r given respectively, and the equatorial radius we have taken 60. So these are all the values which we have See, the gravitational constant for the moon is only 4902 kilometer cube by second square. This is the only value, and this value is for Earth. So analytical solution, the values of Q0, Q1, Q0i, Q1i, and Q2i in terms of alpha I, beta I, because they come in terms of these are the initial the parameters. So I varying from 1 to 4. So these values we can get by this. This is where my whole thing started. When I started the analytical integration, because ui sin e by 2 and also ui cos e by 2 can be written in this form. Only this qi bi may have different values because of this. One from when you write u expansion for this, and then this helps us to get into this form. So that is where the whole thing we had the idea, and we used this. So with UI, with QIs, these are for equation 12, and these are for equation 13. So that is there, equation 12, 13 are there here. So for beta I and alpha I, these are given there. So this is for when 12, for those equations are there, and for beta I, those values are there. So you see, that's the advantage in working on this. And now this I will show you the values of this S, Y, Z, S, S4 and their corresponding coefficient A, G, H, and the values of Q in the 8 state vectors are provided in the earlier, where it is necessary to replace the sun position vector components appearing in G with the moon. The additional expressions pertaining to lunar perturbations for R, S3 and S4 R is written. R is simply, R actually we have an A into 1 minus E cos E, but we can write in terms of this also. So we have written in this form, and then from there S3, whatever is come there, we have brought them in that form. S4 is in this form. And then when you substitute, for which the coefficients are given in appendix, equation 14, 15 are substituted in equation 11 and 13, and after some algebraic simplifications, the resulting equations are analytically integrated to get this. So we got these are the ones now, the variations. Time, singular term will be there because time will be increasing, as with time. So that term will be there in this, and this is your change in the state variable. So all 8 are here. You see here, zeta I is equal to alpha I, and zeta I plus 4 is equal to beta I. I is equal to 1 to 4. So all are in this. Transcendental function is pi pq are given by this cos pq and sin pq du with the pi 0 0 equal to, and so these integrals, this p0 you can write in terms of this form. So all we could evaluate because of our earlier experience. Some more new came, so that also with some efforts we found. So we were able to have the analytical solution from there. And now once you have those analytical expressions, now whenever initial conditions you want at t is equal to 0, e is equal to 0, we obtain the initial conditions. And this 16, 17 can be used to compute tau and delta zeta I. How much this has changed respectively at each step. T is computed from. So here again we use, similar to numerical integration we use. We do not go in one round, we cannot reach. We want to get also this thing. So some steps we go there, and then we go further like that. But we are following the path of the actual values. And the corresponding RM calculated using algorithm from 22. So this RM the this the moon. Let us see the 22. What the 22 says. Okay, 22 will come over anyway. It takes time here. This is the where this will location of moon has been given using algorithm from 22. So this is all the values which are here listed here. D0, D1, etc. All these values are given there here. These are all given here. Simple, I mean, if you because the algebraic manipulator is used, so it's not a very major problem. Anything we have to do it cautiously. So these are all available to us. Equation this equation to replace Q with W, B with C. So we have written to simply to reduce the space used. We have written certain comments. These are all the values. So that is how we obtained the analytical solution. And see, you get a lot of happiness when you get an analytical solution, because analytical solution, a lot of efforts are reduced, and you can do a lot of comparisons without much problem. So 3 test cases were selected for numerical study. The initial orbital parameters are provided in this table 1. You can see this table 1. Case A is a high altitude and mid inclination orbit. You can see inclination is 56 and this is high altitude. Eccentricity is 0.02, so not very high eccentricity, but semi-major axis is 28,000. It's quite high, because there only you can see the effect of the moon, because this is especially for moon we had to choose, so we have chosen these cases in that fashion. Other parameters, you can keep some parameters, and epoch is also required because you need to follow the moon location. So at this location, initial location, where was moon, those parameters will also enter into your calculations. And case B is a highly elliptic and low inclination. See, this is highly elliptic, 0.73, and inclination is very low, 1. So this is similar to geotransfer orbits. So when you do a geotransfer orbits, finally a satellite has to be put in I is equal to 0 in equatorial plane. But in general, we are not able to directly do there. Say for India, for us even what we get in the beginning is around 19 degrees, because our station is there, and then when we launch it, we have to safeguard the countries coming on the way. As I was telling earlier, the no object that our stages which fall, they should fall at least 200 kilometers away from the seashore. So landed mass have to be avoided by at least by 200 kilometers. So that is with all that thing, we'll end up with around 19 degrees, 18 to 19 degrees we'll end up. But France has got a very nice place, Kourou. They get 5 degrees. So it is a island there. So French people, they take there all the thing. They have got a launching station in Kourou, and there they are able to. They 5 degrees. Lot of saving is there when you do at 19 degrees or 5 degrees. You have saved a lot of money. You have saved that much, because you can put higher payload, higher weight of the satellite you can push into the orbit. So they have a very good advantage by developing that island Kourou as their space launching station, rocket launching station. So they do launching from there. So if you are at the equator, you are the best at there. That is the best location for this geostationary orbits. And we have been, our space program started for essentially 2 things: sun synchronous orbits and this geostationary orbits, because both were useful to our country, and we have been now using them very much. And then the this is a, again, case C is a typical geostationary orbit. Typical, because this altitude only is around that only we do. When you take this is semi-major axis, so this is from the center. So if you take the altitude, if, you subtract 6378 kilometer, the radius of the Earth, then you will get that altitude. So these are the typical geostationary orbits. Eccentricity is small, only 0.001, and inclination is 1 point. So for a perfect geostationary orbit, this should be 0, this should be 0. And this should be, or I mean, we have to check that this gives you the time period, the same time period for this orbit, whatever time period the Earth rotates in 23 hours and 56 minutes. So the same time this should take. That will be the, then that gives the definition for geostationary orbit. And we do that. All our geostationary satellites go in that way. This capital Omega tells you where are you, where is your location. So these are all identified, for by international agencies, which area we can launch, we can put our geostationary satellite. So that we can't put anywhere wherever we feel like. This gives you the away you are, how much away you are from the Earth equator. So these are all the things. Okay. So this is the time coordinated. Your universal time only mostly utilized, all these calculations. So this is the whatever computer we have used, because we got from the DST money for buying computer, and we purchased a good soft computer to do all the calculations. So the relative percentage error is calculated as follows. Let is the xi zeta, and I think this is called zeta, and nu denote the solution obtained by numerical integration. This is by numerical integration, and this is by the analytical integration. Then we will, because that will be used, then percentage of this is 100, and then this analytical minus the numerical divided by the numerical. So this is what we have to find, relative percentage error, which because with that the plotting has been made. This is the analytical minus difference mod. We have taken the mod only. Plus minus we have not bothered which side is going, but mod of this, and then this is the numerical value. This is the numerical value has been generated, accurately. So this will be and then multiply by 100. So that's the percentage. Where this denotes the resulting orbital parameters, namely radial distance r and velocity v. It was found that the use of small analytical step sizes produce a high accurate solution. Small step size, which led us to choose a small step size of 1 degree in generalized eccentric anomaly. So 1 degree we used for the rest of the test, both analytical and numerical. 1 degree only we used. Our numerical is done by a numerical integrator, and for analytical calculations also, whatever we have generated, 1 degree we used. The increasing trend in relative percentage error for radial distance percentage and velocity percentage is shown in figure 1 after 10 revolutions, and it is seen that delta R percentage is greater than delta V percentage for the case A and B. Case A with low eccentricity shows more accuracy than case B during the first few revolutions. However, the accuracy of velocity in case B is relatively higher than case A for nearly 6 revolutions. You can see the figure A. This is figure A. In this figure A, you can see here relative percentage error during 10 revolutions for case A and case B. So you can see this relative percentage error into 10, it is into 10,000 is there. So the errors were quite small. Just to show, these were, otherwise you everywhere you have to put. This has been multiplied by 10,000. So you can see here the 4 cases. This is case A. Because it is in color there, but here we can't. The color was not. Okay, color is not here. But this is like this only. So this is case A, R. This one, this value will be there, and then case A, V. V is this 2 dots. 2 dots little thinner. So these are there. These 2 are there. They are almost similar trend they are following. Whereas these 2 are following R, case B, and this is V. Here it is less in this case. Less means because in this case, and this is slightly more, but not of the similar. But trend is following on the same thing. But these are almost similar. So case B. Case B. What is case B? Case B is this high eccentric orbit. So because what happened is high eccentric orbit, the velocity will be, there will be large variation in velocity. At the perigee, velocity will be high of the order of 10 kilometer, more than 10 kilometer, and an apogee will be only 2 kilometer. So there will be lot of difference in velocity, and that is getting, I think, reflected in terms of the percentage error also. And in this figure, relative percentage error after 10 revolutions for case A and with varying initial argument of perigee. So supposing you change the argument of perigee, case A. So that means argument of perigee also is playing a role there. Small omega, which is what is case A? Let us understand case A. Case A is this case. Inclination is high. Eccentricity is also, some eccentricity is there. Okay, it's not almost to 0. And then this is a 28,000. So in this case, what happens here is, see this variation, case A, R, this is R, your R variation, radial distance variation is this with initial. These are all percentage error into 10,000. So this percentage error variation is small only, whereas this is quite large, and the reason is only that the high eccentric orbit. It is high eccentric orbit, and that has got some implications on where is the argument of perigee. Argument of perigee plays a role for that. In that cases, this is what, but they are very symmetrical because they are not growing all through, but they are all coming back also. So this is almost like a periodic thing, going and then going and then going like this. So it goes and then comes back. It may follow the similar trend when we go to the higher ones also. Now the figure C, what it says is relative percentage error after 10 revolutions for case B. So this is for case B with the varying initial argument of perigee. So you see, argument of perigee, what we have seen is an important parameter in this study. So how much is their initial argument of perigee? That is a important parameter. And you can see here, in this case, it is a different story. And case B is that near circular. Case B is this. This is high eccentric thing. This is high eccentric thing. Case B, what we were saying. This is for case A. This is for case A. Case A was this. Inclination was high. Inclination and argument of something must be there between them. Some relation must be following between them. This is, in this case, the eccentricity is high. So perigee to apogee, that what I was telling earlier happens in here. Here it happens. So here both the things, R also and V also, both are showing a trend. And almost same place they are showing. Initial perigee, both places they are showing. This is a high eccentric orbit. So both the places, but inclination is less only. So this is also, and you see difference between analytical and numerical computed values of semi-major axis for case C during 100 revolutions. So this is during 100 revolutions. Number of days from initial epoch. Because their periods are more, so you can see, because their orbital period is almost 1 day. So this is going, that's why this is 100, 90 and then 100. For 100 revolutions, 100 days. Because orbital period is one day for that particular one. This one. You can see once more. You can see here. This will be its orbital period will be almost one day. Because they are the geostationary type of orbits, so they will be having that type of period. So this is the difference, or you can say difference between, and difference is not increasing as such. Number of days. See, it's not that it's growing and growing, but it's following some pattern. It's following. You see, these patterns are almost same. So what happens is the beginning, the error is, then it grows. It grows up to 50. This is difference in meters only. So maximum you can say around 50 meters, 50 or maybe little more. 55 meters, up to 55 meters you may get this side, and this side also of that order, same order. This is the maximum error you can get in. So these are all plotted with the difference between the numerical and the analytical. Numerical, we assume that they are okay, they are correct. So the analytical one will have that error, but this error is not growing as such. So one is, we will be able to say this is for 100 days now. So for 100 days also we are able to, because this much we can bear in our calculations. We'll have to see how much is the total thing is coming, that we are not given here. What is given here is number of days from initial epoch, eccentricity difference in 2000, eccentricity difference in 2000. Here it is going, it's difference between analytical numerical computed value eccentricity for case C during 100 revolution. So case C during 100 revolution, eccentricity we have seen. See what happens, when we do this geosynchronous orbits, when we launch them, we have to have their, corrections after a particular period, because they become eccentric. And you can see also here the eccentricity. uh, uh, this is difference between analytical and numerical. Okay, this is only the comparison for the two things, but otherwise also these circular orbits will become elliptical orbits. So some, and inclination also from zero it becomes because of the sun and moon. Maybe when you see both sun and moon, something may be there, that then we will be able to show you those things. So this is the difference uh, difference between analytical and numerical computed values of eccentricity for that geostationary kind of orbit. That is during 100 revolution. So this will be 100 revolution. So it's growing. Growth is there. There is a growth here. Because it's not that the other one was, this growth was not there. Difference between this computed value of semi-major axis. So semi-major axis, the growth is not there. See, it goes up to there, then comes back, and then again comes back. So but eccentricity, there is a growth. So there is a growth between the some. It is also not very large, because we have made eccentricity difference into 1000 we have put. But to put it them properly, to plot it, so what we are able to see the a clear-cut pattern, that it has some kind of long periodic hybrid of orbit. I mean, the terms are there. So the conclusion is that a new non-singular analytical theory for orbit propagation we have done for linear perturbation. So next time I will show you the solar linear both together. So as I told you, that there was solar, we thought it is already, we sent it to Acta Astronautica, but somehow due to some reasons, some minor issues, they didn't accept. So then we have to do it later. The symmetrical nature of equations of motion led to solve only 2 of the 9 equations to obtain this analytical solution. Comparative study of the present solution based on case transformation outperforms the previous developed solutions based on Lagrange planetary equations. Maybe next time I will show you little bit development of the Lagrange planetary by other 1 or 2 people, that also I'll include in this thing, so that you can see how they originally they had developed. The bilinear relation has been used to check the computation, because this helps us, whether we are on the right path or not path. This equation helps us, that bilinear relation, because any mistakes are there, that fellow will show higher values. The right side 0 will not be there. That's why that has a great, great check for us. Ideally, it should be 0, but normally it won't come 0. So something it will come. So the bilinear relation has been used to check the computations carried out in this study. The study indicates that the theory behaves very well in terms of accuracy with small analytical subsizes. So that's why we did a thorough numerical investigation, and then we found we take in an analytical solution, whether you take a small step size or a large step size. Of course, large step size will be preferred. But you can't follow all the time, because time is also going inside there. So small step size, even if you take a small step size, you do not spend much time, because you have the all analytical expressions. When you do numerical integrations, you have to do each place 4 times, and if you take a higher order integrator, then you have to do much more calculations. So making it viable for both short and long periodic orbit. Later on, I will show you that it has worked for still longer durations. So those things will come, and we have thanked the the Department of Science Technology, because the project was we received this project and to carry out this work, and they also appreciate the suggestions made by this Ping Liu and Michael Hall. Yes, these people appreciated. I mean, during that they have commented, so that has improved upon our presentation. I'll show you some of the important the papers. This paper, Kozai paper, we read. We got some input from here. Kozai paper was good. And Blitzer Lunisolar Perturbation was American Journal of Physics. This paper also was good, but Museum paper is also good. Cook paper is quite very good. This I have. I think next time I will discuss this paper. At least I will show you how some of the important results from there. And Kozai, as I told you, those days Kozai was very well known person. He was later on when I went in '88 to Japan in the conference, then I met him there. Then he says he works in now particle physics. So he was a great. There also we don't know. He might have contributed quite significantly, but in this area he has contributed. Kozai has contributed quite significantly. Many things he has developed. A new method to compute lunisolar perturbation in satellite motion. Because he was working in US, he was from Japan, but then he has contributed very significantly. This paper also is good. Critical lunisolar in near critical inclination. See, near critical inclination things become different because of the small omega that doesn't change. Critical inclination means I is equal to inclination is equal to 63.4 degrees. There, due to oblateness, your small omega doesn't change. When it doesn't change small omega, then things change. Some other things will have effects, and those effects are. So this is also a good paper which came in celestial mechanics in '81. It's a good paper. It's a little difficult paper, but it's a good paper. We read some of this paper because before we started, because we were also doing, both of us had to work on that and make a start on that. This paper also is good. Is just lunar perturbations of only lunar things he has discussed. Yes, he was the thesis examiner for one of there are two thesis examiners from the US. So he was one for Dr. Bhatnagar, J.S. Aglia and Professor Zabe. They were the two examiners for him. Lunar perturbations of artificial satellites of the Earth. So this is also a good paper. And then okay, others are okay. I'm not remembering all other whatever these things are there. These are all our contributions. This is the one which we sent there, but later it did not got this thing accepted there. So then, later on we have done it elsewhere to make it. So with this, I complete my lecture today.